Hi, it's Stephen Klein with Healthy Fit Club, and I'm joined by Paige Clark, one of my business partners with Healthy Fit Club and a holistic health educator over 10 years, walking, talking encyclopedia, all things nutrition in the body and exercise. So Paige, you've had a tremendous influence in my life, having come from eating a lot of different ways growing up to whatever I thought was healthy, always striving for health for, more than 30 years now. So one method that I tried along the way to where I am now is being vegan. Did that for 6 months, raw foods. Didn't quite work for me, and I don't think it's optimal, but this video isn't about what you need to do. It's about having optimal health and peak performance with whatever path you choose. So if you do choose to be a vegan or you are vegan, we want to make sure that you're the healthiest version of a vegan that there is. So Paige, if you could speak a little bit to some of the deficiencies someone may experience on a full-on plant-based diet, not getting some of the things and nutrients that our ancestors got when they were, hunter-gatherers, which is how we became who we are. So I will give you the floor. You had mentioned a lot of things to me, so I'm excited for you to share, and we'll keep it short, on how a vegan can achieve optimal health on a plant-based diet by supplementing some of the things that are not found in a plant-based diet.
Well, thanks, Stephen. I really think it's important to honor anyone wherever they are. And when I work with people, whether it's in my office or remotely via Skype, I want to help them, as you said, optimize their nutrition with what the choices are. But one of the first things I do is I want everyone to know that what greatly impacted my life was a great work. And it was the work of Dr. Weston A. Price. Mm-hmm. Here's the book. The title, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. It's over thousands of pages long, maybe not really on this book, but, I know that Dr. Weston A. Price spent countless years traveling as he was actually a dentist, but he started noticing the degeneration in jaw, bone structure, teeth, cavities, attractiveness, in his patient population. So he had the wherewithal and desire to travel the world and determine what the healthiest cultures did eat. So I prefer people read this versus the China study. And why is that? Because I think there's a little more truth in what they found. In fact, of these healthiest populations that Weston A. Price found, there were no vegan populations. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't be healthy as vegans. And right. Today, with supplementation, we really can. And I really honor those that, from ethical reasons, make those choices. But I also want to make sure they stay healthy. And right. I have a personal story in that around the time of my third child, I'm a grandma now, but when I had my third child, I believe I was following more of a vegan vegetarian diet. And for me, possibly now knowing what I know from some gene studies, was deficient in some of the key nutrients, the Bs and the folates, that have a lot to do with DNA replication. And so my son was born with a cleft lip. He's great. Everything's fine now. But I really, truly have a passion for trying to nip this in the bud, so to speak, and try and encourage, especially when I work with young couples. So what are some of the vitamins and minerals and compounds that might impact your health? I think the first thing is that the best sources of the B vitamin family are animal-based foods. And if you're not getting your animal-based foods, then this is something that you surely do need to make sure you're supplementing. It's very inexpensive to supplement. And incidentally, one of the reasons that we see a lot of people that have heart attacks or cardiovascular issues is a deficiency in these B vitamins. You've heard of high homocysteine? Mm-hmm. That's easily remedied by proper forms of the B vitamins and proper folate.
And what Paige part, let me interrupt you real quick. Mm-hmm. What Paige is referring to when she says high homocysteine, you're not going to know that. That comes when you have a comprehensive blood panel done, you'll see homocysteine as one of the markers on the blood test. So it's not like you're going to wake up and look at your watch and it's going to say you have high homocysteine, but that's where you'll see that. And that's the remedy you're talking about, Paige. So go ahead. Sorry to interrupt, but I want to make that clear.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks for, and again, you often see this in people that aren't getting the B vitamins, people that are eating a lot of grains, because we know that it's really the sugars in the grains that maybe impact cardiovascular issues. The fat has been vindicated. We'll come back to that. So, one of the things that all my good vegetarians and vegans get from me is obviously B12. Premier Research, B12. The best.
Premier Research Labs. B12.
Premier Research Labs out of Austin, Texas.
Got it.
I hope you'll give them a link they can use.
Yep.
Okay. Max B. This is a whole B complex. I like using the whole family. I like the synergists and the compounds. So the Max B is something we use. So if you are following that and you're working with me, I'm going to really encourage you to use these supplementation products.
And by the way, we're giving recommendations on supplements because Paige always recommends the best and highest quality supplements. These are not irradiated supplements, which almost all of them out there are, but that doesn't mean you have to choose these. These supplements are really important for a vegan to have optimal health, but if you don't get the one she's recommending, get something else, okay? This is not a sales pitch on you. This is recommendations for
education, right?
We don't even have an affiliate link on any of these things, so she's just recommending what she would recommend, but get something if you don't get what she's showing here, but we will have links for those, right, Paige?
Exactly. Okay. Thanks for clarifying. Okay, so Stephen, we talked about this in another video. So another concern, is that a vegan or vegetarian may not be getting enough protein. Well, I'm the first person to tell you, I think all of us get way too much protein. Holy cow. I have a living a primal lifestyle. People still, show. People think that we're pushing brontosaurus steak burgers like Fred Flintstone ate. No, we want healthy, natural fats. Right. And some of these natural fats came in the form of animal foods and organ meats and so forth. But we want adequate protein for rebuilding structures. And we want adequate and more liberal fats. But let's get to the protein. This is the second thing that I might be concerned about when I'm coaching someone who is using a vegan or vegetarian diet. Are you getting adequate protein? There are a lot of vegans and vegetarian people that say they're following this kind of diet and they're eating mac and cheese. They're not getting great, the manufactured cheese, GMO. So I want to make sure they're getting proteins. You can make complete proteins from vegetarian foods, but you have to be very conscientious to do it. So we like the Perfect Amino. Perfect Amino is by bodyhealth.com. We're friends with this company. We really like this product. And I was actually just looking at the label, Stephen, and one of the reasons we like it is that it's already, the amino acids are directly available to the system, not dependent on digestive fire. And literally, just to give you an idea, with these type of aminos, you're getting 99% absorption of the amino acids, as opposed to even eggs, you're getting roughly 50%. Whey and soy protein powders that a lot of vegans are turning to, not the whey, but the soy. Right. They're getting less than 18% absorption of the protein. They're not really getting the biggest bang for their buck. Surprisingly, branched chain aminos often have only 1% absorption. So let's get the master aminos, the perfect aminos that we need. This is a great, very cost affordable insurance policy for vegans, vegetarians, and even those of us that are not following that diet.
And a note to add to that is a lot of people don't understand or don't know that all of the branched chain amino acids are in those essential aminos, which can include all the other aminos that aren't branched chain. So you get everything.
We like the whole shebang. We don't like to mess around.
Of course.
Okay, and thirdly, we want to get adequate omegas, right?
Yep.
Now, a lot of vegetarians and vegans know that they can get the omega-6s, a lot of good plant-based sources, but we're really not short on omega-6s as much. We need some good omega-3s. So, what I recommend for my people that are omnivores is a little different, but for my vegans and vegetarians, again, Premier Research Labs DHA. This is an algae-based, so it's lower down on the food chain. Mm-hmm. It's the algae that maybe the krill and so forth are eating. And this is a super support for the brain, nerves, heart, and overall health. So I want to make sure they're getting that proper DHA.
Gotcha.
So not just, again, we now know that these polyunsaturated fats and the omegas are greatly enhanced with other fats, including the saturated fats. Think of the saturated fats as a structure.
So
Think
what?
of omegas as the vibration. So what do we like that's plant-based that has saturated fat? You eat it almost every day for lunch. Avocados,
Okay, that's what I was going
coconut
to.
oil. Mm-hmm.
So coconut oil and avocados for plant-based people are great because they're not going to be eating the grass-fed butter, the saturated fats from meats, that kind of thing. So those two things should help there. Coconut oil and avocados,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, good deal. And what about any concern for vitamin A or K2 or any of that? Are they?
Well, that is a big concern for me. And so, again, I love my A, D, E, and K. I mean, that's my alphabet soup, but, let's talk about it. If they're not going to eat, the best sources of vitamin A are cod liver oil and liver. Now, I'm not talking about beta carotene. I'm not talking about the carotenoids. Those are great, but many people don't convert. So that does become a concern, that they're not going to get that. That is something that they're going to really struggle to get. And many vegans have dry eyes, dry skin. This will happen. The vitamin K, there is a good solution, fermented natto. And I'll get you the link on that. I really like that. I kind of learned about that through my Qigong group. Supreme Science Qigong has recommendations on a vegan source of K2. But natto is kind of stinky. Most people don't like to eat it, but this fermented one is a powder. You can get it down. But K2 is extremely important. What does K2 do, Stephen? K2 tells the body how to utilize its calcium. You know that my animal-based one is Walkabout emu oil. It's my favorite K2. It's the forms that we want. The body uses it, but this other, yeah, but it's animal. But so the fermented natto would be the choice for a vegan.
Okay, we'll have a link.
Yeah, now vitamin E people can get that get
Yep.
the full fractions vitamin E, and then vitamin D. Again, my favorite source would be from a supplementation standpoint would be the Dropey cod liver oil. We talked about that earlier, but the vegans aren't going to eat that, so get some sunshine. And there's new mushroom forms of that supplements have some great research. Mushroom form of vitamin D. I'll try and find out a good company, but I'm sure they can look for a mushroom form supplement of vitamin D. But get out in the sun. That's my favorite for vitamin
And the sun, and the tip there is sometime between 12:30 and 2 p.m. or 12:30 to 5 p.m. 20, 30 minutes of sunshine is all you need to get.
Yeah, just use it as a chance to check your email or something. Sit outside, expose about 70% of your skin, and there's a great app called D-Minder.
Yep,
that reminds you and gives you an idea of how much vitamin D you're getting. You get more, when people worry about how many international units, trust me, we are not getting the vitamin D we need. This is a very interesting phenomena. So get out in the sun.
Yep, and to add on, and this not to be meant to be controversial, but I ate a low-fat diet for over 20 years. Come to find out that was all made up. There's no hardcore evidence or scientific studies to say that fat is bad for you, and a low-fat diet is actually not healthy at all. So another concern if you are vegan is to make sure you get enough fats. We told you, we recommended ways to get your fat in if you're not going to eat animal foods, obviously, in the form of avocados, coconut oil, and there's some
let me tell you,
as well.
cooking your vegetables. Steve, I'm glad you made that point. A lot of vegans are having a lot of vegetables and hopefully limited fruit, because fruit can interfere with the insulin thing. But take that time to make your vegetables. If you won't even, some vegetarians will use different forms, but I think a coconut in your vegetables is important so that you can cleave the minerals. You can't really use a lot of the minerals. Oftentimes they're hard to assimilate. The fat soluble nutrients are activators.
Right. Yep. So cook with coconut oil, and a lot of people are raw foodists, so you've got to figure out a way to get the fat into your diet. I think I'm gonna put the link of the David Diamond talk on fat in the description as well, so people really get an understanding of what they've been taught as far as fat being evil and the actual truth about fat. Because when the China study came out in the book, they pretty much just made categories of stuff like fat without talking about any description of what different types of fats. They weren't. They grouped everything in one category. They grouped, animal proteins in one category, including processed bologna or whatever. Those all one thing. So there's no scientific method in the China study. Hate to say that to you if that's your Bible, but there's a lot of things that have come out since to kind of show
Is my Bible.
Especially that. That's a phenomenal book. So
I mean, you could just look at the people's bone structures. You know, that's what he started to notice, the change in bone structure, that we didn't actually realize our full genetic potential.
Right. So again,
because of the foods, and it's tied to the increase in grains. Now, keep in mind, as a vegan or vegetarian, you can either choose to fill that void with grains and processed foods, or you can choose to eat more greens and vegetables and colorful vegetables. I think that's great. And don't get me wrong, I love phytochemical rich vegetables. That's a big part of my life.
Absolutely.
So, I think this was a great topic, and Stephen, I'd like to pick it up again. Let's do another video on fat.
Absolutely.
And maybe, you know, talk a little bit about Nina Teicholz, you know, the big fat surprise, and how her research has shown it's not the big boogeyman we thought.
Yeah, and I've tons of studies on that, and I went from eating low fat for my whole life to now probably 60-70% of my diet is healthy fats, and I feel better than I've felt my whole life. I only have to eat a couple of times a day. There's no blood sugar level thing like most people experience because I don't eat things that have an insulin response. I'm fat adapted. So we're not even going to go down that rabbit hole.
That's a key word. We're going to do a video on that, being fat adapted and making sure that you have good gallbladder, liver sufficiency to digest the fat so you don't get that cloggy situation and keep the liver gallbladder healthy.
Well, so if you're vegan, follow the suggestions that we made. You'll be optimally vegan. We're not telling you to not be vegan or anything like that, but we want to make you aware of the fact that
cheap insurance.
Pay, get your supplementation instead of paying a doctor down the road, because you probably went vegan and stay away from that anyway. And most people are going to get a tremendous increase in health from going vegan for a year. They call it the vegan bump, but that's from eliminating all the processed foods, the sugars, and that kind of thing. So,
but for many, nutritional deficiencies do show up. Hair, skin, thyroid, not getting those activators.
Teeth.
Yeah, because zinc is important, and zinc is found heavily in animal foods, oysters, liver, and so forth. But so if you're vegan, make sure you're getting lots of sunflower seeds. That's a good source of zinc.
Glad you added that. All right, so until next time, to Optimal Health, Peak Performance. Paige, you did a great job, answered tons of questions. We will have a description with all the links of stuff that we talked about, and please make comments below that if you have any questions or concerns, and we'll get right on that, answer your questions, go a little deeper if we need to, and look for future topics related to what we just discussed. And, live a happy life out there. Eat all the good stuff you can. Get rid of the processed foods and organic vegetables, all that kind of good stuff. But if you're vegan, stay the path, but supplement your foods. Right, Paige?
Good point, Stephen. Thanks so much.
See ya.